The lights inside the SK Arena in St. Petersburg didn't just illuminate a boxing ring that night. They exposed time itself, pressing down on two men who had already lived entire careers inside the ropes. As the opening notes of the entrance music echoed through the building, Vage Sarukhanyan stepped forward first. A 35-year-old veteran carved from discipline and repetition, his broad back and muscular frame reflecting years of survival in unforgiving gyms. This was not a rising prospects moment. This was a last assertion. A former WBC international champion, a world youth bronze medalist from Guadalajara in 2008, and a fighter forged in a family that understood sacrifice. Sarukhanyan entered knowing what the belt meant, but more importantly, what it represented. Validation after years of drifting between relevance and obscurity. Across from him waited Georgii Chelokhsaev, younger in mileage if not ambition, a former Russian national champion at SuperLightweight in 2017 and 2019, a man whose fists had ended nights violently, whose looping overhand right had become a warning shot to anyone daring to stand still. Chelokhsaev carried a 67% knockout ratio into the ring, fresh off a destructive second-round stoppage months earlier, and with it, the expectation that pressure would break movement, that power would always find a home. The referee's final instructions barely registered, because this wasn't about rules, it was about philosophy. From the opening bell, the contrast was immediate. Sarukhanyan gave ground, not out of fear, but calculation. His feet moved before punches ever could, skating along the perimeter, measuring, erasing angles before they existed. Chelokhsaev stalked forward like a man convinced inevitability was on his side. Heavy feints pounding the air as warnings, each step daring Sarukhanyan to stand his ground. And yet, nothing landed clean. The longer the round wore on, the more obvious the conflict became. Brute intent versus elusive mastery. Chelokhsaev's jabs dug to the body when they found flesh, but Sarukhanyan answered with quiet defiance. A flicked jab here, a check hook there, just enough to remind the judges and his opponent that movement alone wasn't the point. This was about control. 2 minutes in, the crowd sensed it too. The Russian super lightweight title didn't feel like it would be claimed in a single moment, but dismantled slowly, layer by layer. As the first round closed, there was no dominance, only tension. Chelokhsaev had chased. Sarukhanyan had survived, without retreating into desperation. It was a chess opening disguised as a fistfight, and both men knew the real damage would come later. Round 2 carried a different energy. Not urgency, but intent sharpening into irritation. Chelokhsaev pressed harder now, cutting angles more aggressively, attempting to herd Sarukhanyan toward corners that never quite materialized. Each time the white and gold trunks closed distance, the black and gold figure slid sideways, hips turning, feet whispering across canvas, like they knew something Chelokhsaev didn't. The effort difference was visible. Sarukhanyan was burning fuel at an alarming rate, but he was doing it on his terms, choosing where exchanges happened, and more importantly, where they didn't. Chelokhsaev's power looked ominous when it missed by inches, but every failed commitment was a tax, paid in frustration. Jabs clashed mid-ring, stiff and honest, yet Sarukhanyan's counters arrived cleaner, quicker, even as lighter. It was the classic dilemma of pressure fighters, aggression without punctuation. As Chelokhsaev lunged with wide hooks, Sarukhanyan pivoted out, occasionally freezing him with a peppering jab that landed more for message than damage. The commentary spoke of ring cutting and tactics, but inside the ropes, something subtler was happening. Tempo manipulation. Sarukhanyan wasn't just avoiding punches. He was controlling Chelokhsaev's rhythm, forcing him to reset over and over again. By the end of the second round, the belt glimmered ominously at ringside, and the question was no longer about skill, but endurance. How long could a man run this hard without breaking? And how long could a puncher swing at shadows without doubting himself? Chelokhsaev began loading up, chasing the kind of singular moment that changes fights. But Sarukhanyan remained disciplined enough to let the round slip into his pocket, on activity, composure, and clean touches. 2 rounds gone, and the power advantage hadn't mattered yet. That realization lingered heavily. By the third, the fight revealed its psychological spine. Chelokhsaev's face betrayed irritation. Missed punches always do that to fighters who build their identity on impact. He stalked forward with intent, feinting relentlessly, but Sarukhanyan's response never changed. Move, jab, spin, reset. The crowd murmured in appreciation and impatience in equal measure. This wasn't violent. It was cerebral. Sarukhanyan's stamina bordered on surreal, his legs refusing to betray him, even as minutes stacked like debt. Chelokhsaev lunged again, overcommitting, and paid for it with sharp counters that snapped his head just enough to matter. Each clean touch rewrote the judges' scorecards quietly, invisibly. The swelling beneath Sarukhanyan's eye appeared, but it didn't slow him. If anything, it hardened his resolve. He stayed mobile, refusing to let Chelokhsaev establish the sustained pressure he thrived on. This was where the fight became cruel for the aggressor. Every instinct screamed to throw harder, swing wider, but doing so only fed into Sarukhanyan's plan. By the bell, Chelokhsaev looked less dangerous, not because his power diminished, but because belief had. The realization crept in slowly. This wouldn't be easy. Rounds 4 through 7 extracted a price from both men. Sarukhanyan's legs, miraculous early, began to show fatigue, forcing moments of stillness that Chelokhsaev hunted desperately. Body shots landed cleaner now, thudding against ribs and elbows, each one an investment in slowing the dance. The swelling worsened, prompting ringside inspections, ice pressed cruelly against inflamed flesh. Yet Sarukhanyan adapted again. Shorter steps, smarter pivots, holding ground just long enough to fire combinations before escaping. Chelokhsaev's opportunities came, but they arrived isolated, never sustained. He needed volume. He produced power, and power alone wasn't enough. Every round slipped away not with explosions, but with increments. Jabs scored, angles won, mistakes avoided. It was exhausting to watch, devastating to fight against. By the championship rounds, the outcome felt inevitable, but dangerously fragile. Sarukhanyan protected the swelling eye, minimized risks, trusted the work already done. Chelokhsaev chased urgency now, sprinting across the ring in bursts, landing occasionally, but never decisively. The final bell sounded without a knockdown, without collapse, just exhaustion and uncertainty. When the announcement came, it wasn't met with shock, but release. Vage Sarukhanyan, unanimous decision winner, Russian SuperLightweight champion. After years of setbacks, inactivity and near misses, the art of back-foot boxing had carried him home. No highlight reel knockout, just mastery, just survival. And sometimes, in boxing, that's the hardest victory of all.